So, the long-awaited Smash-like game from WB, MultiVersus, finally got its closed alpha. It was NDA free, which means we can talk about these things. I'm Wisp. I'm very happy to be here to talk with you guys and to say that I did get the chance to play. And I learned a lot from it. First of all, this game is every bit as fun as I hoped it would be. I'm really looking forward to the full launch of it. And I'm excited to talk about the game and what it is, how it plays, with the added bit of bias that my brother's actually enjoying this one and he never liked Smash all that much, so this is a lot of fun for me. But for a more holistic view of it, at least from my own perspective, note that this will be full of opinions. It's a great game. It's really smooth, really fluid, and I think in this type of game, what I will say the most important thing is that each character presented feels like they're themselves. I don't know every single universe in the game that well. I will admit I don't know all that much about Tom and Jerry, so I can't say they specifically do. But for all the characters I know, they do, and for all the characters that I know of, they fit the image that I've been presented with before. So it feels pretty good. It feels like they're really on the right track with that. And when I'm talking about them feeling like themselves, I mean in a lot of ways. Their animations, the way their moves look. I mean the actual movements they do when they're walking or running. But they also have lines, like if you win a match, lose a match, take a rematch, reject a rematch, when you first select them, but then also with each other. In the middle of battle, characters will have dialogue with one another, either allies or enemies. And in all of those interactions, the characters feel like they are accurately representing the character presented. When I'm playing a large crossover fighting game, that's what I ask for. One of the most important things you can do right is that just make the character feel like themselves. But fun is also a really big influencer, and maybe to you that part isn't what makes the game fun, and that's okay, because it's really fluid and clean fighting game. The moves are pretty intuitive. I play with a controller because I'm really used to playing Smash Bros, and going to a keyboard would just feel weird to me. So I'm not going to go off on the keyboard options, but I know that you can remap it to make it fit you. But really, the controller, I can say, it feels like a good fighting game as far as the controls go. But on screen, the moves are fluid. They're really unique. And the thing that sets this game apart from Smash so much is the co-op abilities. And those aren't just like everyone has one neutral skill about it. They're varied. So there are characters like Finn who give passive bonuses. He collects coins and then he can pay them to Choose Goose to get passive speed increases for him and his teammate. Or there are characters like Bugs Bunny, who is their favorite to show off, where he digs a tunnel and then his partner can use the tunnel. But then there are people like Steven Universe, whose skill can actually create a shield around him and around his partner to increase their defense, which I've just started Steven Universe. I'm literally watching it because he's fun to play in MultiVersus, but that feels very Steven. Early on, I can say that feels like him. Things aren't perfect yet. Right now, the game sort of has an issue where anything that is not a physical hit with your punches or a shield bash if you're Steven, a sword slash if you're Fen, but your main direct hits doesn't feel like it has a lot of launching power. So it feels like everything else is done to move around the map or maybe to build up damage, but the only things that will really launch a fighter are your main skills. And maybe that's their design choice. It feels a little off to me, but I think that's something that can be worked on. When playing, I didn't have performance issues, except for one time my screen went completely black, and I was still in the match, and my teammate was very upset with me. I know that because we were on voice chat at the time, and he was actually not that mad. We were having a good time. But it's definitely something that I could see being a problem, especially as ranked gets out there. When this is a closed alpha, it's one thing, but when all of our scores will now be part of our score forever, I think that might, rub people the wrong way. But this is a closed alpha. This isn't even at beta yet, so that's kind of the point of an alpha, is to see what's causing those issues and then also get feedback. So the feedback that I'm giving, take that in mind. That is from an alpha. So the fact that I said the skills don't feel like they affect the character that much, that is in alpha. That is something they have time to work on. They asked us all for feedback. They watched our gameplay videos. They're taking this very seriously. So with those critiques, remember that there is a lot of time to come for those to get better. That out of the way, I mean, the setting is beautiful and the soundtracks are amazing. They're from the franchises. Everything has like the MultiVersus graphics. I think it would be really fun if they found a way to put some stages in the original graphic stage, or in its original graphic format. Like if we got an Adventure Time stage, I really want the Ice Castle, but it actually looked like the Adventure Time cartoon one instead of the MultiVersus 3D crossover one. Just a concept. Right now, another thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is that right now it doesn't feel like the stages are that varied. But I can see that they're going for it, and this is not the full stage selection that is going to be in the game, and there will also be more time throughout its life to add more stages. So it's not something that I'm concerned about, or that is going to keep me away from the game, but it's something that I think if they're not keeping ahead of, if they're not aware of it yet, can start to be a problem, because if we're playing this game all the time, then millions of people are going to be playing hundreds of matches a day, causing dozens of millions of hours of gameplay that will be on the same few stages. I think that could hurt its lifespan. People would get bored of it pretty fast when they're playing it nonstop. If some people will. So new stages, and not just in forms of backgrounds, but completely like give us a bunch of different mechanics. I think that would be nice. However, that comes with the downside of the fact that we can't really pick our stage. It's completely randomized if you're not in a custom game. So you don't want to necessarily pick a character who can't handle a lot of jumping when they're going to make a jump-heavy stage. So that is something that they'll need to figure out if they want to add in a lot of unique stages like that. Unless they put some stages that are just too weird in custom only, and that is just for when you're having fun. It won't progress your battle pass. But I think that would be okay, because that'd be more for the people who are really into it and are going to fill out the battle pass probably anyway, but now they just want a different stage to play on. I think I'm getting shorter throughout this video. I think that's my bad. That is my bad. The roster is unfinished. This is just an alpha. Even some of the characters' movesets aren't finished. I mean, they were full movesets. They're just experimental, so the amount of damage things do, or if things change, is going to be changed. So I think it's really exciting. Right now, we got to look at 15 characters, and they're all pretty fun. I mean, I've got my preferences for the way I play these types of games. I usually like to play the assassin-type characters or support-type characters, which don't really go hand in hand, I don't think, but those are the ones I'm having the most fun with so far, for the most part. But there hasn't been a character that I'm really upset if I have to play as them. I mean, they're all fun, and one of the biggest factors that determines if I'm having a good time with them is if I know the character, which has been a lot of fun for me because it gave me some direction on what shows to watch when I'm bored. There's a lot I'm excited for in the future. So far, there was one feature in the alpha where you can actually try out any character and any skin, whether or not you have them, in the lab. And that's been great, because there are some skins that are going to be hard to obtain, and I hope they keep that feature. Because even if I really like a skin, I'm still going to try hard to get it for actual versus mode or playing with my friends. But if I'm just in the lab, which is training, then why not let me just run around with it? I really do hope that they keep that feature. All of the characters so far have been really accessible in the sense that you buy them from in-game currency. You do several matches and you get some coins, and you use those coins to buy a character. I think coins will have other uses in the future, probably for more perks, which are basically spirits in Smash Bros. You equip them. They have passive abilities, sometimes activated abilities like use your punch and, it does more damage, but they passively upgrade your skills or your speed or things like that. And I think that one way to get more of those will be coins, but coins also buy you new characters. You don't have to actually physically pay for them. Unfortunately, the skins that we could use were only from Battle Pass or character progression. We didn't get a chance to see premium skins. It's because there was no premium shop open at the time. For the closed alpha, they didn't want us paying for a skin that would be taken away. And I guess maybe they don't know the price range yet. They didn't open the premium store and just put it all as free for the course of the alpha. And I get that, there's a lot that they need to workshop on that, make sure they know how the premium shop will run. But I would have liked to see an idea of what the payments for this game are going to look like. But it's not necessary. The game is running well, and it's one of those things where everyone's at a different place with what they're going to be willing to spend on a game, of course. But it's fun enough that if you were willing to pay $60 for Super Smash Bros., if you did, you'll be willing to pay for this, probably, at least somewhat. And if not, there's a reason to. So it's not that everyone's going to need to, but I don't think people are going to be too upset when there are premium skins or certain premium items or whatever they do. I don't know how they're going to make it work, but they've earned it. Like, the team has done a really good job with this game. I did also learn from this game that streaming's pretty fun, so I'm looking into the idea of streaming some gameplay for certain games and just kind of posting it and chatting about it. My brother's really good at that stuff, so I'm going to ask him for some tips, and maybe you'll see me playing some games someday. But I was streaming the game to a friend of ours, and our friend pointed out that the teams are a little bit hard to read. They put really thick borders around the character that are a little bit of an eyesore sometimes. But if you're colorblind, I could see that being really visually confusing. And I sent that as feedback, but it actually turns out that there is an accessibility menu that I somehow completely missed. So you can change the color of the border, you can remove the border, remove the character's color scheme. The character color scheme would change to be like Jake would turn red if he was on the red team. You can choose to remove that, and yeah, maybe there will be 2 Jakes, one on each team, but you need to track it yourself because you chose to do that. You know, they give you that warning that it might make things more difficult. But you can remove that, you can remove the colored borders around characters, you can make them thinner or thicker. There are actually a lot of accessibility options. You can even change the color if you are colorblind or if certain colors just don't feel right to you. So that's on me. I missed that completely. I was made aware of that after I'd already submit the feedback, so hopefully they don't think I'm too stupid. And then there's also, in this game, one thing that's majorly different than Smash is, by default, the character's damage follows them around on their name tag, instead of being posted at the front of the screen, but that is also something you can change. You can make it so that it's posted on the front, or you can keep it in both locations. So, yeah, very accessible. I was having a hard time tracking the number as it was on the character's name tags. The numbers change a lot as you're attacking them, and then they're moving around a lot, so it just made it impossible for me to keep track. Some people are going to prefer that. Definitely on me. I did not explore the accessibility menu enough, and it's there. I don't know what other accessibility features they will need, but it gives me confidence that they're going to be willing to listen if anything else comes up. If people who need other forms of help or any sort of accessibility features, I think that there's a really high chance that they are listening to that. And lastly, I want to throw out there that this is a very friendly type of game. I mean, so far when I played online, I never got that match that just felt too impossibly difficult. I mean, I won some and I lost some, but a lot of these types of games turn into this place really quickly where once you go online, you lose if you're not like a pro level. And there's going to be a ranked form which will, and I'm sure there's going to be some sort of ranked which will let you, if you're really good at these games, get to that point, but if you're just playing random games, then I don't think we're going to have to worry about it being too easy or too hard. I think there's a really good balance in this game, and if not, then that's kind of the nature of online games. Eventually, that balance will fade, and people will either be really good or brand new and not that great. But I'm curious to see where it goes. The last thing I have on the game, and it's a pretty minor complaint, I guess, but items don't feel like they do anything. Like, they're pretty rare. You can only really find them if Bugs Bunny is playing because he spawns items. And they're either really predictable, so they're easy to avoid, or they're very weak in effect. So I think that there's a lot of work to be done that can make the items feel more like they actually matter. Unless the team didn't want them to matter, but they wanted to put them in for the sake of representing more items and characters and franchises. But if that is the case, then I don't think that's the way to do it. So I do hope that the items get reworked in a way that makes them feel more like they're actually part of the game. All in all, I am really excited for MultiVersus. I'm giving it, even in its alpha stage, like a solid 7.5 out of 10. Something that I would spend some money on, play frequently, but maybe not give all day every day to. I mean, I don't get that much time to play video games these days anymore anyway. So,